Let's go back to
Big Ben.
Pittsburgh.
Big Ben,
Big
Big
Ben.
Ben, Big Ben, Big
Hey.
Ben.
And let's not overlook the fact, we just think, they go to Baltimore and the Ravens aren't playing or anything. The Ravens will take great pride and pleasure
Of course.
in sending Ben Roethlisberger into retirement with a loss, in keeping the Steelers out of the postseason if they can. Anything Pittsburgh related, they hate in Baltimore. The Ravens hate the Steelers. They will treat this like the Super Bowl in Baltimore. The opportunity to basically do the exact flip side of what we saw last night. 6 days later, Ben, no. Hey, I hope you enjoyed Monday night because you aren't getting anything like Monday. We're not going to give you any type of a send-off here in Baltimore. We're going to try to kick your butt right back to Pittsburgh and make sure you don't get to the playoffs. And again, they haven't won on the road since Halloween, so it's going to be a tough road. But last night it was a great night. Let's hear a little bit from Ben Roethlisberger on the emotions of what clearly was his last time ever at Heinz Field.
It wasn't pretty, but like I said out on the field, I think that's kind of feels like that's been my style. Not pretty, but finding a way to win. It's just, this is home, I know I was born in Ohio, but I live here and I'll always be here. And these fans in this place, it means so much to me and my family, and always will. And I've always said that they're the best fans in all the sports, and I'll stick by that to the day I die. And to see all the signs and the jerseys and the towels, and to hear them cheer for me coming out of the tunnel, all that stuff, it just I don't know that I'll ever put it into words, and that's why I want to soak it. I wish I could bottle it and have it forever, but I will in here and in my mind.
And if they do get in, it will be as the 7th seed, so they will not be playing again at Heinz Field this year. So it is it for Ben Roethlisberger, and it really was a great way for it to end. I mean, rarely do you see everything line up just like that. The other great quarterbacks, so many of them in recent years end up finishing up with another team. Ben Roethlisberger going 18 years wire to wire in Pittsburgh, and look, he knows he's got sufficient self-awareness to know it's done. He would play somewhere else. My son and I were talking about this last night. It's like, what else is he going to do?
That's right.
If he was capable of playing for somebody, making $15-20 million next year, and doing the thing that he loves for one more year, he would do it. It's not like when your football career is over, you can go play football with your buddies. Like if you're a basketball player, if you're a baseball, it's done. You're never playing football again in your life once you're done. If he could still do it, he would do it. But I think he understands, as does everyone else, that it is time for him to walk off into the sunset while he still can.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, it is. We see it. He sees it. I mean, we saw a lot of these signs last year. We came into the year going, can they really put this together? I'll give you a lot of credit. You kind of before the year were like, it's over. I don't really think that even no matter what they do, will they be able to fix this or get Big Ben to play at a really high level? Yes, I mean, he's limited. And certainly, had moments of being scary this year as far as like I don't trust him with the ball. What's he going to do in the pocket? There definitely was that aspect, in certain games as you played throughout the year. Last night, I first off was so impressed with the fact that he could be that emotional before the game and really kind of take it all in and not try to just block it out and be the machine quarterback. And then be able to flip the switch and go out and play and make good decisions and get everybody in the right place and do all of that. That was impressive. That really was. I mean, I think that was cool. And here's one other thing I'll say, too, that I respect about Big Ben for the year. Big Ben, hey, it could be a little bit of a drama queen every now and then and blah, blah, blah. But this year, I think he's known he's going to retire for quite some time. I think we both know people that he told – He's been telling people this was going to be it for about 10 weeks now. I do give him a lot of respect for kind of like keeping his ego or checking that at the door for the bigger picture of the team here as they were fighting for a playoff spot and not making it about him. He did do that this year. He did not make it about him. He was a Steeler. He went out a Steeler, and this kind of just fell into his lap last night. So that was cool to see, and I give him a lot of respect for kind of handling it that way this season.
Well, and there is a maturity that kicks in as you approach the age of 40. He's a far different human being than he was when he came to Pittsburgh. And look, I don't want to gratuitously pick at old wounds, but he was a major pain in the ass for the Steelers early in his career, and he fought through it. Maybe that's the research that Baker Mayfield needs to do. Maybe as he grows and matures and ages, he can develop into a better overall quarterback, a better teammate. Ben Roethlisberger was a bad teammate early in his career. The stories are out there everywhere. From, little things like refusing to sign autographs for players, like for charitable things where, hey, we're doing this. Can you say no? Well, who does that?
Right.
Who does that to a teammate?
He's famous for that.
Who does that?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, he's a little different that way. He is. He's a different guy that way. But nonetheless, still the general on the field, is the epitome of Pittsburgh and what they like as a quarterback. And yes, like a pain in the butt early on in his career, like you said, but where it's different than Baker Mayfield, was an absolute freaking baller. I mean, early in his career, it just didn't matter. I know the first year he was a rookie, and the first Super Bowl appearance was nothing special. But I also want to say, like, he did go into Indianapolis and play good and beat Peyton Manning and the Colts, and then went to Denver and was awesome in the AFC Championship to get them to the Super Bowl. But I mean, Ben was magical for a period of time. And I know we've waxed poetically about it a little bit too. The one area I'll always give Ben credit for, and being a baller, and he was a pain in the butt and everything there. But, man, Ben went to 2 Super Bowls with offensive lines that weren't very good. And the year they
were horrible.
The year they beat the Cardinals, you're right. I mean, I think some people would view it as like, man, that might have been one of the worst offensive lines in football. And they went to the Super Bowl because Big Ben he could throw with people on him, hitting them, bearing down on him, moving around like he was Fred Flintstone in the pocket and pumping the ball and doing all that. And that's where he was special. It wasn't necessarily by the book, but the big soldier got it done a lot, and it was by his great physical ability and his toughness. And you're right, they were horrible, and that's where I always will respect Big Ben to another degree.
On the ESPN pregame show last night, they were dancing around this specific topic, and they stopped short of really honing in on what the key was to dealing with Big Ben. When you get to him when he's moving left and right back in his heyday, what do you need to do? And I think it was Booger McFarland said, well, you need to tackle him. No, the point is you can't tackle him. What you need to do, and this is the Rodney Harrison coaching point that I remember from years ago, what you need to do is you got to hit his arms, because even while you've got 3 guys on him, he's still going to find a way to get his arm up and get rid of the football. So if you get close to him, job number 1 is get your arm on his arm, because he's still going to find a way to throw the football. And that's what was so amazing about it. He had mobility in that he could move left and right and back and forth, and he had the ability when someone was trying to pull him to the ground to still make a throw. No one, we see the funny body angles and all the different things that guys do now, but there isn't a quarterback now that if you are dragging him down is going to make the throw consistently like Ben did in his prime and in the early years of his career.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, really, that maybe that's what we're trying to say here. I think maybe the best quarterback, or one of the best I've ever seen, with people bearing down on him and people around him and harassing him. Games where you'd go, whoa, they're not protecting, they're collapsing the pocket and putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, where you'd go, well, this team's not going to be able to get through it, or the quarterback's just overwhelmed with people around him. There were so many games in the first 14 years of Ben's career where you went, that's unbelievable that he threw for 315 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception that game with the kind of pressure he was under. And I used to literally, I do things on my podcast, because in his prime, he'd be like, like you're talking about, people would be on him, he'd just be like, raw, and throw the ball, and you'd be like, what is that? How do you do that? I mean, that's just unbelievable. And he is just a big sandwich-eating, beer-drinking Ohio guy who just fit Pittsburgh and just wanted to go out and play. Might have not been into all the checks and the nuances and every detail of his offense, but he was just like, hey, coach, I got it. Don't worry. Just let me get out here, get the ball, and I'll make it happen, and we'll go down to that part and get a touchdown. And that's where it was different than the other great quarterbacks that we know of this generation, where Brady and Manning and Drew Brees and it's laser and precision. Big Ben was kind of just like, oh, shut up, coach. I know the plays. The hell with it. I'll make it work. Don't coach me too much. You're getting in my head and confusing me. And that's where I love Big Ben for that. I really do. Like the conversations you heard me have a few years ago. Doesn't know how he grips the ball, barely practice in the offseason. It doesn't matter. We'll go out there and I'll play good.
And there was an interesting exercise last night during the wall-to-wall Big Ben coverage of the alternative history where if the Browns had drafted him in 2004 and kept him in Ohio and how he went on to torment the Browns. Look,
yeah, that was a cool story last night.
But here Browns fans who are burning up emotional energy, wishing they could go back to 2004 and take Big Ben instead of Kellen Winslow Jr. or Kellen Winslow II. I can't remember what the proper designation was. But I'll say this. Trust in the very simple reality that the Browns would have screwed him up. That it wouldn't have worked in Cleveland like it worked in Pittsburgh, right? Right?
Yes. I mean, good morning, Cleveland. But yes, I tend to agree with you.
But your organization, the Cleveland Browns, would have screwed up Ben Roethlisberger. It wouldn't have worked, and he would have ended up with someone else, or just would have ended up out of the league. I mean, this is one of the points that we need to continue to remember year after year, especially with the draft coming up. It's going to be here before you know it. Where that quarterback lands to start his career, and he has no control over it, except when he chooses to try to exercise control over it, which happens all too infrequently. Where you start your career is a huge determining factor in what that career is going to look like. And there aren't many other places where Ben Roethlisberger goes in 2004 and goes out in 2021 with no break in that 18-year chain. And as the Steelers are looking for a quarterback, if you're an incoming quarterback, forget about the veterans that are out there that may be making googly eyes at the Steelers like Aaron Rodgers. Forget about that. If you're an incoming quarterback and you're looking at the draft order, you keep pulling your eyes down to wherever the Steelers are. Maybe the best thing that happened to the Mississippi quarterback on Saturday was the injury. Maybe he'll be there when the Steelers pick. I mean, they need a guy, and we've seen what that organization. Let's not lose sight of the fact that great organizations make a difference. And he wouldn't have made it in Cleveland.
Probably not.
Because of Cleveland.
Right.
Not because of the city.
Yeah.
Because of the football team that's there and the way it's been run for the past generation.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it didn't, there's no doubt. It's hard to argue. You look at any great quarterback in the history of football, they had a support system early on in their career. We've talked about it. It doesn't matter if you go back to Joe Montana with the 49ers. You get to Tom Brady. Hey, we're going to play defense, run the ball, manage the game, ask you to make a few throws. Russell Wilson, we can go down that conversation as well. Yes, Big Ben, he had the luxury of being a part of the organization, and Bill Cowher, when he first got there, that, hey, we didn't need to put a lot of pressure on the rookie star quarterback. Let's run the ball. Let's play defense. We'll just ask him to make a play or two throughout the game. And it continued to grow and grow and grow to where it became, hey, you just go run the show. You're the man. We'll do whatever you want, and we'll try to figure this out, through your eyes. That's what it blossomed into, and I think your point's real. I don't know if we could have expected those same results in Cleveland. Certainly not. I mean, things have gone all over the place there for this century in Cleveland. So you make a great point there. Support system's huge. We see it this year right now in 2021 NFL. We see it right now. The generational talent in Trevor Lawrence is in a place in Jacksonville where, he doesn't look nearly as good as Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, or Justin Fields. I mean, nowhere close to that. It's concerning right now.
Or Davis Mills.
Or Davis, right. I mean, it's concerning right now the way Trevor Lawrence looks down there. I was texting, guys on NBC last night just because I had watched the game against the Patriots yesterday. So it's a very real point, and Pittsburgh is still, even though not the best team this year, got a lot of pieces that, can lay the foundation for a team that can turn it around, pretty quickly. We'll see what they can do. But, yes, Big Ben was fortunate to be there in that organization.
This is a topic for another day, but this is an occasion for me to explain why from time to time you will hear me say that the draft is a mistake, that quarterbacks and all players should be able to pick where they go. And Chris, here's one reason why people should take that seriously. Giving the crap teams dibs on the best players coming out of college football creates no incentive on the crap organizations to become less crappy. You talk about having the support system. Well, you know what? If you've got to recruit your quarterback, if you've got to convince him to come play for you, instead of being able to say, oh, yeah, well, hey, we stunk this year, we get the best quarterback. Let's ruin him until 3 years from now when we'll ruin the next one. You have an incentive to be not dysfunctional at that point. You have to be sufficiently functional to attract someone to come to you. And see, a team that needs a quarterback is going to be most likely to attract a great young quarterback. They're not going to go to Kansas City. They're not going to go to Dallas, where you got a guy under contract for 4 years at $160 million. They're going to go to the place where they think they're going to get to play. But they're going to go to the place where they think they're going to get to play, and they're also going to develop the way they need to. It's at a time when the NFL should be thinking about coming up with ways to ensure that the best young quarterbacks are properly groomed and mentored and develop into guys. If the NFL wants to expand, and I think they do, to 34, 36, 38, 40, you can't just have these guys land in a wasteland that ruins their careers. And you encourage that. And let me be more accurate. You don't discourage it by giving Jacksonville one of the top 3 picks every year. That's your reward for being bad. Why is there a reward for being bad? There should be an incentive to not be bad. Anyway,
I don't disagree with you. I don't necessarily disagree with you with all that, but that's fine. I understand what you're saying.
Don't we want great quarterback play? Don't we want to incentivize teams to develop the support system?
But the current system's pretty damn good. I mean, we were at like 24 teams were in the playoff race till last week. It's competitive.
I know.
We also got to
Trevor Lawrence wasn't.
Well, I know, but you also got to take it. We were trying to say these things about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and now they're the most fun damn offense to watch in football, and it's great. So it doesn't always work out to the negative way, but your point is real. Yes, the support system's very real. For it could be a superstar quarterback, and you go to a crap situation, and like we always say, you're going to look like crap and smell like crap, and that's a lot to overcome for a young kid, and it makes it tough there. Yeah, we've seen some quarterbacks have gotten a little more fortunate as far as their support system early on in their career, and that allows them to develop into something where you'd go, I don't know, maybe if you put that quarterback there, he might have too. But hey, it's hard that way. I understand what you're saying.
That may have been one of the things Baker Mayfield was thinking last night. I got stuck in a spot where Hugh Jackson was my head coach, and then Freddie Kitchens was my head coach, and we've had just a revolving door of dysfunction. If I would have started in a place like Pittsburgh, maybe I'd be 4 years into a Hall of Fame career, just like Big Ben was. So it's a conversation right now because I think the contrast isn't any greater between what we've seen in Pittsburgh for the last 18 years and what we've seen in Cleveland for the last 18 years, and Ben could have been. If the Browns weren't sufficiently dysfunctional to not realize what Ben could be, he would have been part of the dysfunction and ruined by the Cleveland Browns by 2009.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.